Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live on September 11th, 2024, 23 years after the worst terrorist attack in the history of this country, carried out by Islamic extremist terrorists under the direction of Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda. It was a terrible day for many, including yours truly. It was the worst day in his life, and in some ways, it was a uplifting day. Strange, the second part. Some people get worried about that when I say it, but please hear me out. It was the worst of days because we lost so many. We lost unbelievably brave firefighters and police officers and first responders who, many of them, knowing they would die running into the fires of hell, went there because they were driven by their mission as firefighters and police officers and rescue workers to save others, which becomes the great principle of Jesus. No greater love than to lay down your life, fellow man, woman. Well, there is no greater love than what they showed, and they showed it in maybe the biggest scale that we've ever been able to witness, because much of it was, on television. And then the horrible loss of so many innocent people coming into work in the morning, people opening up their breakfast sandwich, having their first cup of coffee, maybe delivering coffee or sandwiches, or maybe just in the elevator heading up to Windows on the World for a business meeting, or being, as I know, one group that was lost, being at a business meeting at the top of the World Trade Center, which had a great restaurant called Windows on the World, just dead, and in Shanksville and in the Pentagon. And for what? For what reason? In the name of the cause of Islamic extremist terrorism. It is a cause. It's not just an accident. This wasn't an accident. Many people try to pass it off. And I don't know how many young people know why September 11 happened. I don't know if they even bother teaching it anymore. It would certainly offend the overriding philosophy of most, if not all, of the elite schools, which were just found to be almost the more elite they are, the more they wipe out free speech, according to a report just this week. Harvard leads the top of the censors of free speech. Can't learn if you don't have free speech. I mean, I don't understand. And this article questions whether anything. This is what you look back on. And then you look back on unbelievable bravery in the face of, I can't, having been there, being an eyewitness to it, being trapped in a building myself with 39, 40 of my colleagues. I can't describe it to you. I mean, I can, but I can't describe it to you. It's like men and women can't describe war, really. This was like war. You didn't know if you took a step forward, if you were going to get hit by debris and it would smash you because you saw other people being smashed. You didn't know if you wouldn't be hit by a body falling from the top of the World Trade Center. It was the most jarring experience I had, was seeing a man jump from the 100th floor and saying to myself, just forget about it. And I said to the commissioner and my colleagues with me as we were approaching the fire chief, I said, this is beyond anything we planned for. We planned for everything, guys, and we did. We had planned obsessively from the time of the last attack on the World Trade Center, which was the year before I was mayor. I started a mayor's office of emergency management. We never had that before. We got the federal government to help us. We did drills and exercises, but we never thought of airplanes being used as missiles coming into our building. So my first reaction was, "But we're not quite prepared for this, Bernie. We're going to have to do this based on our instincts, and they may not always be right. So let's pray to God to make them right." And we agreed on that, and then went forward. Always trying to put first the needs of our people and the needs of our city, not even our physical well-being. It wasn't just me. People say, "Where'd you get that bravery?" I sucked it up from the air around me. I was breathing the breath that was being exhaled by heroes. Why wouldn't I be a hero then? What am I going to do? Go hide somewhere? Go run away like the mayor of New Orleans did during Katrina? Go hide on a ship? Or pretend that buildings aren't burning down? Uh-uh. I took an oath to protect the people of my city, and if I had to die, I'd die. But I was going to protect them. And every one of my people shared that, which made it stronger. Because look, we're all human and we're all afraid. Of how we deal with it, that's a question of how useful we can be in the service of protecting others. And these men that you see behind me putting up that flag, those firefighters, New York City police officers, Port Authority police officers, who we honor, I love them. They're the bravest men and women I've ever dealt with or been with. They continue to be. And we've lost more since September 11 than September 11. And I heard two congressmen from New York. One actually was on today, Congressman Desposito and Congressman Lawler, who want to make September 11 a holiday. Damn well should be a holiday. A lot of people don't know about it, and a lot of people don't want to teach it. You know, to them, we're like Israel and Hamas. They may think Bin Laden's the good guy, and we're the bad guy. Like Hamas, they think is the good guy, and Israel's the bad guy. But you got to learn the facts. You got to listen to the people, like I listened to my parents and their relatives and friends who told you incessantly about Pearl Harbor and about what was happening in Europe or had happened in Europe and in Asia. By the time we went to school, most of us knew a heck of a lot about World War II, that's for sure. And then we were taught it in school, and the teachers then weren't afraid to tell us the good things. Now you wonder, are they taught good things? Well, let's all today put aside some time and say a prayer to God to thank him for the incredible people he allowed us to have to help us through that. And also pray to him that truly we never forget, because indeed we have. And several people today at Ground Zero, where President Biden and Vice President Harris and former President Trump and Senator Vance were there, they made it quite clear that they believe that things are more dangerous now than they were before September 11. And the reason for that were the two people standing there, Biden and Harris. In fact, when the lady was screaming at them about their responsibilities and her preference for Trump, Kamala Harris was doing the same thing she did last night during the debate. She was laughing like an immature jackass. Quite inappropriate behavior. One of the readers reading the names midway through, not even midway through, about a third of the way through, was quite harsh about President Biden and his inappropriate behavior. and his responsibilities for the condition that we're in and the deaths that we're seeing. I don't think you'll ever see that on the censored news that we have in this country. We might as well be in China for that purpose. Of course, you should see this. A person who has lived through 23 years of loss of a loved one because of an attack on our country has the right to speak. And maybe the people at the top of this regime should have to listen. But in any event, it'll be shut out. We'll get it for you, though. It'll be a little hard to get that because it's with the clips of the museum, but I'm going to do the best that I can to get it. It was quite moving, and the crowd was almost 100% supportive. This may have been New York, but I wouldn't want to take a vote. Maybe the only ones that would have voted were the ones that were in the privileged area with Biden and Harris and a couple of the others like that. Well, we're going to be back. When we come back, we're going to talk about the debate last night, and I'm going to give you my view of it after some time to reflect on it. We'll be right back. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live on a very solemn day that should be a national holiday. It's Congressman Desposito and Congressman Lawler. They need your support to make September 11 a national holiday. Oh, I might as well add, they need your support to get reelected too. They're both excellent congressmen, both from New York, one right near here in Long Island and the other a little north of here. Well, the debate, let me give you like the 360 overview. And of course, you're going to say I'm biased and whatever. And look, how do I know if I'm not or I'm not? Trump, on all measures, objective and fair, won the debate. If you want to do it based on substantive positions, he won it unanimously. He's the only one with substantive positions. She announced long-term goals, and when pressed for how she would get there, blah, 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 blah. One of the things was she was asked directly, what are you going to do that Biden hasn't done to make peace in Israel? She said, we're going to make a deal. Well, of course you're going to make a deal. Well, how are you going to make the deal? She couldn't supply that. I can understand that. Maybe you don't want to give away how you're going to do it. But it was 100% true. It's like they questioned Trump about changing his position on one thing. They didn't point out that she's changed her position on 15. It's different. Changing position on 1 or 2 things is normal. Changing position on 15 indicates you're a damn liar and a phony. But so I scored it as a win for Trump. A win on points, not a knockout, not like last time. She was not Biden. She was much more fluid in her language than I've ever seen her, although there were two or three, but she substituted something else this time that was even worse, I think. Every time they'd put the camera on her, or I'd say 60% of the time they put the camera, she mugged for the camera. She was obviously heavily trained and schooled for this, trying to remember everything she was told. And she was told to take advantage of when the camera is on you to make faces. Now, first of all, I think that is completely immature and completely silly. And I know it is because if you ever did it in court, and she's theoretically as a lawyer, although she failed the bar exam, there's never a show that I will not remind you of that until we get to the election. Uh, I mean, I've seen young dopey lawyers in court, or even older dopey lawyers, do that with juries. And they look at the jury. I got to tell you, judges go nuts to the point of threatening lawyers with contempt or telling them to find another profession. Or what are you, some kind of a 5-year-old? Well, that's what she looked like. By the time it was over, she looked like a complete clown. She was mugging for the camera. She must have worked on this. Now, what does that show? Shows the same thing that her failure to have a live news conference for 57 days shows you. She's afraid. She's insecure. She's highly insecure to the point of pathological. I mean, everybody has some insecurity. If you're not nervous about a presidential debate, you're not human. But she won't have press conferences. My goodness, after the way that she was treated last night, she have a press conference every day. They'll answer the questions for her. They'll ask her, Kamala, what's your policy on taxes? Well, let me tell you what it is. You agree with that? Yeah, that's good. This is about what happened last night. So if you rate it as a debate, and it really was the bastardization of a debate, Trump won it. Well, he conveyed a real sense of what he's going to do. What he's going to do with the economy, the measures he's going to use to fix them, which of course are the measures in large part that he used before. And for example, on tariffs, he blew her away. She keeps saying he has a national sales tax he's going to impose. Now, the crooked two jerks that were doing this, the Democrats that were doing it, didn't point out that that's a false statement. He has no national sales tax. She would like to say that the tariffs that he wants to impose on China, if China imposes higher tariffs on us, is a sales tax because that'll be ordered to the cost of what's being sold in the US. First of all, that isn't necessarily true. Sometimes it lowers costs. And the fact is, the tariffs that he put on China, first presidents that had the guts to do it, or maybe the first presidents that had the independence to do it. Certainly, this guy doesn't have it. He got 31 million from China. They're not going to have it. Walls has been working for China for 30 years. Oh, and the Democrats said these tariffs are going to kill our economy. They do anything. They put prices down. Now, you want the best answer? And he hit her in the mouth with that. They continued all the tariffs. Every single one of the tariffs that the Democrats and Biden complained about in 2020 that were going to hurt our economy, that destroy the ones that the Wall Street Journal complained about, all of them were continued by Biden. And in fact, they might have possibly added to them. And remember, and this is what is very annoying to me because I do understand economics, unlike the one who failed the bar exam. Tariffs can be very destructive, and they can be very smart. And he uses tariffs really to get the market back to fair. So you're selling me bumpers for cars, and you put a 50% tariff on it. In other words, no matter what the cost of it is, I got to pay 50% more for it. which puts my bumpers that I make in America at a great risk because first of all, I may have a higher cost here to start with because we have a higher cost of living. But second, now you're taking it above your low cost of living, depressed price. You're shooting it all the way up, and then I've got to compete with that. And what happens? We lose industries. Hey, millions of jobs. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. You want somebody to vote for? Don't vote for the people that took away millions of your jobs or your grandfathers. So he imposes it to create a fair trading floor. They want 50, we'll do 50. And we're going to put 20% more on now until you bring yours down. And he explained that brilliantly. But it didn't matter because this was a fix. This is like what the mafia used to do at boxing. And it's like, actually, and most boxing matches are not fixed. I describe this as the old wrestling. Remember the old wrestling when they all go out there with a big show? I used to say that here's the difference. That you know why one is fixed, the other. People bet on fighting. Nobody bets on wrestling because they know this was fixed. It was so obvious. I don't know that I even have to illustrate it to you. But let me make the 3 big points first, and then I believe he won because she talked in very, very general language and was never specific about how she's ever going to reach any of these. And at best, you could say these were goals, aspirations. He talked in actual, most times, policies. Here's how I'm going to get there. Like it or not, his usual style, right? Second, I would say that her laughing, her Hollywood-inspired mugging for the camera was disastrous. It indicated somebody too immature and too insecure to be. Imagine if she walked in to a negotiation with Putin or Xi, or even some high-level allies, businessmen, serious people, and started going. Where'd you get this one? Well, from the same basket that we got the demented one. They're called. They used to be a heck of a political party, but they're going back to being like they were when they were the party of slavery, and they're giving us who knows what. They might not even be America first. The one there now, it's China first. But if you watch this, just take a look at how. I mean, I could give you 8 or 10 of these, but I'm going to pick 2 or 3 for purposes of time, and so we can concentrate on. There was a dispute over late abortion. Lindsay Davis, the moderator, decided that she's going to be the fact checker. She's going to be the truth announced by ABC and Lindsay Davis is there is no abortion after birth or at term in America. Shut up, Trump. You're right, Harris. Screw him. Well, wasn't quite that dramatic because she isn't that talented, but it was a lot more sneaky. Let's play it for you. Let's play Trump's remark so you understand what he said. Then let's play the crooked Lindsay Davis, who I tweeted last night to correct it. Because if she's a person in good faith, correct it. She's wrong about this. Let's play it.
Was too short, and you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates.
Now, he's absolutely right for one, except for one thing. It wasn't the governor of West Virginia, it was the governor of Virginia, which he actually corrects. We want to show you.
Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v. Wade,
Answer the question. Would you veto?
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration.
Now, you're going to see in a few minutes that is exactly what Governor Northam of Virginia said 5 years ago. Exactly. 100%. But listen to this from crooked ABC.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam.
He didn't say it was legal to kill a baby. He said there was a governor who took that position, who was a Democrat. So she changes what he says, contradicts him, and doesn't care, not one, what the truth is. Now, because she doesn't have the energy or the recollection, or the memory that I have. The minute he said that, I say Northam in Virginia. I remember when he said it. Knocked me off my chair. It knocked me off my chair because I believe it was a day or two after New York State passed a law doing exactly what Trump said to Harris she wants to do, abortions up to just about the 9th month, right before the baby comes out. That's in New York. It was part of the big debate on the bill was whether to allow that. And when they passed it, they had overwhelming applause in the chamber, and they had a party that night for killing babies. And I remember it had a big impact on my views on abortion, and moved them further toward gosh, we gotta start limiting this or stopping it. And then when you look at statistics like more Black children in New York are aborted than born, you're starting to think that the original objective of Margaret Sanger, which is largely to wipe out Blacks, is part of what Planned Parenthood is doing. And America's paying, you're paying for it. So let's listen now to exactly how Trump is right and ABC is wrong. And this is the reason he should never again debate with two members of the Democrat Party being hosts with unbelievable biases. Let's listen to this.
One, first thing I would say, this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to.
Well, tell me Trump's in right. I wrote down the words. The baby be delivered, be made comfortable, if that's what the mother wanted. I don't know, would the mother wanted not to be comfortable? It would be, it would be resuscitated if that's what the mother wanted. So it would be taken out and not resuscitated and allowed to die. That's one thing. Second, then they would have, after the baby is resuscitated, We can have a discussion. What are they having a discussion about? Are they going to murder the baby? I'm sorry. This guy in your party said this. And by the way, Comrade Walls has said very similar things. He's not the only guy in this crazy left-wing radical party of which Harris was the leading member in the Senate. She had the most liberal voting record. She even described herself as a radical, and she hasn't changed her values. So how is Trump wrong? He called him the governor of West Virginia. Well, she didn't correct him for that, and he corrected himself. The baby is delivered, made comfortable. The baby's out of the womb now, made comfortable, right? Resuscitated if the mother wants it. Let it drop dead. Don't resuscitate it. I don't know. Sounds like murder to me. Now, when they're having a discussion, there's only one thing you knew. Baby lives. What are you discussing? Where the baby's going to go live? What he's talking about is, see if we can chop the head off or bang it in or suck. I mean, sometimes they crush the skull to get it out, and sometimes they suck it up with a vacuum. That's at 7 months and 8 months and 9 months. And the idea that Roe v. Wade didn't allow it, under certain circumstances, it did. It was very limited. Then a lot of states passed laws changing it. And the law they're talking about here, Northam is either misinformed or lying about it. They wanted to take it down from 2 doctors approving and from proof of physical, almost lethal harm to the mother to mental distress, 1 doctor. Mental distress, 1 doctor, you can get rid of a 9-month fetus, 9-month embryo, child. Once it's out of the womb, we're going to decide whether we resuscitate or not. We're going to decide after we resuscitate, we let them live or not. Sorry. And the law in New York and in most of the other Democratic states takes you right up to the point of full term, baby coming out. Now, all of them support killing it before it comes out. And Harris does too. And they didn't press her on it. All they did is lie about Trump being wrong. And they should apologize if they have any, and they don't, dedication to the truth or the American people being correctly. This is like fixing an election. You know, she won the debate. Yeah, by cheating. Yeah, I'd win a debate too. I mean, if you want to play basketball and I own the refs, oh, that's a technical foul. Or that's a personal foul. But the guy, I never even hit you. That's okay. The referee called. Oh yeah, I get 3 more shots. You get 1. So Lindsey Davis puts herself in the category of Candy Crowley and all of the other, I don't know what they are. Are they trained in China like Walls was? Now there's another one. This is the lost by a whisker comment. Trump at some point is confronted by equally dishonest David Muir, maybe more. He interrupted more actually, and was even further. Well, that's pretty far off base. Shows you're either a misinformed or completely dishonest reporter. David Muir decided when Trump said that he lost by a whisker, that he had actually backed off his position that he was cheated in 2020 and that he was serious about it. Trump says I was sarcastic. Well, let's listen to this. And this one is really quite remarkable. This is David Muir is going to give us the benefit of his psychological interpretations.
Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, There's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75.
So, okay. So he says it was sarcastic. Okay. Now,
all of these pieces of video, I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread
standing.
fraud.
That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you for kicking the shit out of me. Well, first of all, who cares what his observation is? He's the damn moderator. The guy says I was sarcastic. I didn't detect it. Well, we have a sarcasm meter? Want to show us the readings? What was it, 6 out of 10? What a bunch of bullshit. He introduces the whole subject of the 2020 election and Trump losing 60 cases. And Trump gave him the absolutely right answer. Judges, aside from the ones in the crooked Democrat dictatorships like Philadelphia and Atlanta and places like that, where you're not going to get it. You're not going to get a fair trial on a political case. I was taught that at NYU Law School. You're not going to get a fair trial in a political case in New York because the politicians appoint all the judges, and the judges, for that purpose, are all corrupt. Now, on other things, they may not be, but on politics, they get appointed by Democrats. They're not going against the party, or they ain't going nowhere. So the reality is, he didn't have 60 cases. Most of those cases were brought by other people. I actually argued one case, and the judge decided not to give us a hearing. And that's when I decided, the heck with the cases, we're going to go to the state legislature. And I put 100 witnesses or so, and with the state legislature's help, and made a record in the legislatures that this election had been stolen. That historic record is still there. I give you one example. Just recently, 375 ballots were found to be missing in the state of Georgia. They're gone. We cannot find them. I could have predicted that for you. I think I know approximately when they burned them. So he's telling you the truth as best he can, and he has a right to his opinion. Not with these guys. Well, I said to you that we could do many more of those, interruptions, helping her with answers, asking her questions that were so one-sided it was absurd, and then never correcting her for this, which is totally inappropriate behavior. First of all, they had closed mics, and the theory was, do you have that one ready, Ted? Yeah. The theory was that she wanted open mics because she wanted Trump to interrupt her, and she was going to say, "Excuse me, I'm speaking." That was the only line she could remember from her debates in 2020. Excuse me. Probably some kind of, over dramatic, stupid, silly, immature. Excuse me, I'm speaking. I got you. Now, this is so ridiculous. Because she's the one that does it. Because she's a child. She doesn't have control over herself. That's why she has the word salads and why she won't talk to the reporters. There's got to be a reason if for 57 weeks you don't have a press conference. Every one of those reporters is willing to lie for you, like the ones here. Why not have it with these people? David Weirick hurt you. He did everything he can to fix the debate for you. Let's listen.
like she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out. She went out in Minnesota before.
I'm sure he enjoyed that one. I'm sure he enjoyed. I saw him this morning, but it wasn't really appropriate to talk about the debate in any detail. I saw him and Senator Vance, and I saw cackling Kamala and the crook, the major crook who snuck away quickly, who was yelled at by a New Yorker, someone who was there who I didn't see the woman, I heard her. And cackling Kamala was laughing her head off. It was really funny down at Ground Zero. She found something very funny about all that. And then a woman got up and basically said he's responsible for the danger that we're in right now. You didn't see that on the news, did you? I mean, if that were Trump, if somebody had gotten up there and excoriated Trump, you'd be all over the place. So please, would you factor this into what you're doing? Because they're trying to steal this election the way Maduro stole the election in Venezuela, or the way communists steal elections, or they have control of the newspapers, like the communists had control of Pravda, and China has control of the China, whatever it is, Daily or Times, and of all the stations. So they're trying to brainwash you. This is brainwashing, what they're doing. Well, I thought we would give you a sample of her making a clown out of herself. Do you have that, Ted?
So if you want to talk about it, we'll play it. It's a series of still images, but it'll play on DVD. You want to talk about it, I'll play it right here on the screen. And she kind of goes around like, you see those?
Mm-hmm.
You see them, they're kind of
Every single one of them is staged, dramatized. Oh. Mm.
and then what? Well, 2 minutes.
I'll go to our video. You can. Well, I don't know. We could do many more of those of her acting like a clown. There are probably even some better ones. We just had a short time to pull those out, and not exactly the most fruitful thing to be doing. The failure to bring up Bagram is almost a treason to our country. We should know whether she would do the same thing that the little creep that was with her today did in giving away Bagram Air Base, 400 miles from China, 500 miles from Russia, and 400 miles from Iran, and leave behind $85 million worth of arms that are now have been used to kill Americans and those who helped Americans. It is believed that they still are holding Americans in Afghanistan. Of course, Biden doesn't care about the hostages that are in Israel that we all know about. Why worry about the Americans there? He left them behind to get killed, and they did. And she was never questioned on something that came up just within the last 3 days, 4 days with the report. But God, no, it was a report from a Republican. These reporters aren't going to consider that news. She announced that she agreed completely with his strategy in Afghanistan, and particularly with giving up Bagram Air Base, which, by the way, if they were conscientious reporters, they would point out is now partially in the hands of Red China. And they would say, I mean, Kennedy almost took us to nuclear war to keep Russia off our shores. Here we were right on their border. But what a tactical advantage of an air war. Every general opposed it. Could it be that Biden did it because he had to pay off, had to do some deliverables on the 30 to 40 million that he and his family got over a period of time from the, as his son described the person, the part of it, at least 20 million of it, from the spy chief of China. I mean, all the money was from Red Chinese. No questioning on walls. Walls trained in China under the auspices of Harvard 30 years ago. Teaching in China under the auspices of the University of Shanghai, I believe. But you know, when you teach in China, you teach what China wants you to teach, which is communism. And then saying things to make you sound like a communist, acting like it when cities are burning. One man's socialism, another man's neighborliness. You say that if you're a fool or a communist. Well, 30 years in China, honeymoon, wedding anniversary, all dedicated to China. And here we are. We don't people like Muir and Lindsay left foot ends up not even asking about that for the good of our country. How did you pick this guy? Did you check that out? Did you vet it? Do you assure us that when he was there teaching in China, he was the only person teaching what China didn't want people to hear? Only person ever. Well, we're going to close out tonight. I have an annual reunion with all my closest people, which are a lot, who lived through this with me. I didn't get through it except on the shoulders of giants, meaning September 11 and the aftermath. I look forward to it, and sometimes it makes me cry, sometimes it makes me laugh, but it's always very, very fulfilling. And we will close out, and we will leave for you a little piece of what happened partially when we were leaving today, because this is, for me, a reunion with a lot of people that I've known for years, watch the babies grow up. And then there are a lot of people that come from all around the world. And I wanted you to see that, the most significant of which was the chief of the Border Patrol in Israel. They just lost 3 men in a shooting across the border by a Jordanian who just assassinated 3 of their members. And they, of course, shot and killed them. They don't do a catch and release, and they don't invite, millions and billions in. Well, very, very deep. God bless America.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time? And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows, only time? We gotta
bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,